my speech for me. Yeah, okay. So today I'd like to share with you information about me and my family and my faith. I was born in Aotearoa, which means in Maori, land of the long white cloud, and in your language, that's New Zealand. I was raised with two older brothers on a dairy farm, and when you have two older brothers, that means that they do most of the farm work, and I'm not good enough to do it. So consequently, I've actually never milked a cow. However, I did have pet calves and pet lambs, and I did chop heads off eels in the ditch. My father was not a Christian, but my mother was and still is. She took us all to church on Sundays. We went to a country church, small country church, where it was Presbyterian one week and Methodist the next week. But we did learn about Jesus there. I started college at 13 years of age, even though I had never graduated from high school. My oldest brother started attending Worldwide Church of God when he was in his late teens, and then I followed just a few years later and joined Worldwide Church of God. During that time I was working at a psychiatric hospital, and then later I went on to work for the Worldwide Church of God office in New Zealand. Shortly after that, in 1979, when I was 22 years old, that makes me 54 now, so don't kind of waste your time calculating it, I came to Ambassador College over here. I took some time out of college for 6 months, and in the middle of my college here, and I spent 6 months in Thailand teaching English to Laotian refugees. And for me, I think that was the beginning of my interest in doing missions. When I came over here, I said I would never marry an American. However, one day Mike asked me to go to Bible study with him, because that was a typical day to go out on Friday night to Bible study. And we came back afterwards and we talked. And I wrote in my diary that that was the best date I had ever had. And then I started hanging out in the library after that. When we finally talked about getting married, there were two important things that had to come up in that discussion. And this is not when he proposed, this is just when we finally recognized, yes, we like each other, you know, we're pursuing marriage here. The two things that were important to me were, how many children are we going to have? And I told him I would like two, a boy and then a girl. And the other thing that needed to be discussed is how often we would visit our families, because you see, mine was 6,000 miles away in New Zealand and his was 2,000 miles away in Georgia. So we came up with this solution. We would visit my family one year and his the next. But we have been very blessed, and we've practically visited both of them every year, so that's been a huge blessing. My work that I chose, or my career, was based on having a family, and I chose to be an apartment manager so I could stay home with my family, with my children. So before we started a family, I got a job as an apartment manager. I was able to stay home with my children, and when they were in school, I was able to get involved with them and be part of their lives. Okay, big thing is family, right? My two children have moved away from home now. And so, you know, that was really difficult. It is difficult when your family leaves, when your children leave. So I had to make some adjustments in my life. However, family and faith were still an important part. So it was time to get reacquainted with my husband. So Mike and I are now on our second honeymoon. And it's good. It's better having had the first one already out of the way. Okay. The other part was sharing the gospel and my faith. As Jason said, I am going to juvenile hall on Thursday nights. It's interesting because we do a Bible study with the boys, or sometimes they just want to ask questions, and sometimes I just get the feeling that I need to share the gospel with them that night. And so, you know, when I tell them that God loves them, that He sent Jesus to die for them, and He has already forgiven their sins, there's a sense of calm that comes over them. Leading missions is still an important part of my life, and we've got quite a few mission trips coming up in various countries. So the two important things in my life in conclusion, are my family and my faith in Jesus.